Welcome to Aesthetic Academy, the only school that won't put you in debt, but probably won't help either. If you have no clue what's going on, don't worry, neither do the instructors. Now, get out your art supplies and quit eating your paint because class is in session.
Welcome to the Aesthetic Academy podcast. I'm Tap.
I'm B.
And I'm Commitment.
Heyo. We're going to have issues.
I do have issues.
All right. B, what are we talking about today?
Today, we got some good stuff going on. Talking about the Invisible Sketchbook, the Tap special of the bastardization of sketches and why the Instagram 15 is a shitty lie.
That definitely sounds like something I would say.
More on that later. And we're going to talk a bit about social media and how that affects we as artists. Let's start out talking about the Invisible Sketchbook.
Hands up, who has a sketchbook?
Hands up. I do. Do I draw on it?
Yeah, then who is actively using that said sketchbook? Not me.
Look.
Slowly lowers hand.
I came here to talk about how people should use sketchbooks, not about how I am not using my sketchbook. And
those who can't do teach.
God damn.
That's it.
Wow.
Podcast over. Later, fellas.
We did it. So, for those of you who don't know, God, you deals warlocks.
The Invisible Sketchbook. What
Can
does
I
it
sell you
contain?
an Invisible Sketchbook for 3 doubloons? Every time you go to draw on it, it turns invisible.
You know what? This is great, Garfield's the Deals Warlocks.
We have multiple heads.
You're a two-headed Deals Warlock. That actually works, because, we're going to talk about why sketching loses its magic, right? So for those of you who don't know, or haven't heard me talk about this before, I have an idea. I'm sure other people have talked about it too, but I have this idea of this invisible sketchbook, right? If you have ever sketched, you know that there is this, feeling of, oh God, I gotta make this perfect. I gotta, people are gonna see this and whatnot. But that's the point of the invisible sketchbook, is that no one sees it but you. With this thing, I don't care how good your sketch turned out. I don't care how much you want to, show the world. If you did it once, you can do it again. I promise you. But this sketchbook is for your eyes only. Not your partner, not your friends, no one. This is for you to just be loose and actually do sketches, right? Because how many times have you guys, been loosey-goosey, and then suddenly when a piece is for someone else, you just, tense up and it loses all magic, right?
It makes me not want to do it anymore.
Is it the same when you want to go unload the dishwasher and then someone says, hey, can you unload the dishwasher? You all of a sudden don't want to do it anymore?
I get where you're coming from, yeah.
Yeah.
Just being you told me to do it and now I don't want to do it anymore.
Well, it definitely can be, because there's this thing that happens where we develop this idea, not necessarily perfection, but that people are going to judge us based on our quality. And when you do that, or quality of our sketches, I mean, it creates this atmosphere in your head and around your pieces that you physically tense up because you're worried about making every piece the best piece. But that's not exactly what art is supposed to be, right? In art, there's a saying that you're going to make 1,000 bad drawings for every one good drawing that you do, right? And that sounds disparaging, but the point is that sketches are for you as an artist to figure stuff out, right? That's for you to doodle in the margins and goof around and play with stuff. And if you want to draw big old biddies, you draw it, however you want, because that might help you gain line confidence and stuff. I find that most people experience this freedom that they never had before once they start doing not safe for work art, because they're there's no way I'm going to show this to anyone, That gives you freedom. It gives you this ability to just take a deep breath and have this sigh of relief and be okay, I can now just actually focus on the actual line making.
Yeah, and kind of touching on both that and how like social media plays into that, but we'll talk about social media a little bit later too, is like when you see just like the people posting like, just a sketch, only took me 2 seconds, wink heart. And then you feel, oh my god, my sketches should be that fast and look like that good. I'm sorry, but Arthur taught us young, people just go on the internet and lie.
It also kind of reminds me of, we don't get taught how to use a sketchbook. Unless you go to art school, but not everyone goes to art school. And when I was younger, and I still have like the tendency to do it, is when you have a sketchbook, you really have the urge to make an actual piece in there, like an actual artwork. And I think that's also like a problem because like once you want to make that actual artwork, it's never going to look how you want it. And then you get so discouraged in using that sketchbook instead of just like making sketches, making doodles, making like scribbles of how you would want to maybe make this into a piece. It's especially with younger people or people who are just starting working with traditional art that it's like, here's my sketchbook. This is basically a canvas. I have to make a full-on rendered art piece, which you can do, but that's not the point of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I always try to get people to, because that's going to happen regardless. It's such a hard thing to untrain yourself for, and that's the point of the invisible sketchbook really, is that when you have this thing that you don't have to worry about anybody else seeing, you don't need to worry about it being this thing that's this masterful, like full-on piece. And I'm sure you guys can talk at length about like what sketching actually means, but the reality of it is that it's literally meant for just practicing for yourself. It's meant, like Mint said, it's like trying to figure out how stuff goes together and doing like basically napkin math, where you're like, okay, if I was doing this painting, how would I want the pose to look, or how would I do the composition or anything like that. And that's really what sketchbooks are meant for. But it's become something a little bit distorted now.
I use the idea, rather hilarious if I put it into practice one of these days, but using your sketchbook almost like a scrapbook as well. Like ripping out things that inspire you, putting reference pictures in there, just basically filling it up with stuff you like, practicing new techniques. Oh, you like collage? Try a little collage in your sketchbook. You want to learn how to draw dogs? Pull up some pictures. Put a couple of photos in your sketchbook. Draw them out. See how get the feel for it. I think sketchbook, 100% means a lot of different things to different people. And you just kind of have to figure out what works for you.
I think what you are describing of, make collages and such and put things in there that inspire you is that it becomes more of a journal. And my mom, she has been now going to like a art class and has started like a little art journal where she basically experiments with like different media and making collages and such and see how like things look together. So I think it might actually be quite useful to, instead of seeing it as a sketchbook, to see it as like an art journal, because you are journaling into your journey of style and aesthetic and things that you like and your skill and etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a pure way to view that too. I think you nailed it on the head, is that when you view it as a way to document your growth and just play around with stuff, that's huge.
Also, Tap, I remember you taking the invisible sketchbook and kind of making it digital. So what Tap was doing, and he can definitely explain it a bit better, was sketching and then just completely destroying them, like just delete. Which, in hindsight, not amazing to see your progression, but like this good practice of keeping up, hey, you're doing loosey-goosey, nobody's gonna see that sketch, it's in the ground. Tap buries his sketches.
It's true. I murder all of my art children. I crank out, wow, that sounds bad. I put out a ton of pieces constantly. I'm constantly drawing, I'm constantly painting, I'm constantly trying new things. But the vast majority of that no one will ever see, because that's the point, is it's not meant for them. It's not meant for anyone but me. And in that purest form, when I'm doing this destruction, and a lot of you will probably say, that's unhealthy, that's not good for you. Like B said, it's a bad way to be able to track your progression. But when I finish a piece, I just don't save it. I just close out the program and I'm like, I'm done. I got what I wanted out of that. And it helps me fail faster, right? Where it's, I can make a mistake and then look at that piece for a little bit and spend like maybe an hour analyzing it and going, why don't I like this? And then picking out the pieces and going, next time this is what I'm going to focus on. I've got a little, it's like a handheld whiteboard thing. It's like a little notebook. You can get it at like Office Depot or Michael's or anything like that, like an art supply store. So I have it by my desk, and I just, with this little dry erase, I'll write down the things that I feel like I need to improve, the things that I didn't quite nail that I wanted in a piece, and then I move on. And even that is not a permanent thing. I don't have this documentation somewhere where I've got like stick-it notes everywhere where somebody might see them or anything like that. I've got a sketchbook or this sketch notepad even, where I just write down the things that I want, and then once I start onto the next piece and I know what I want, I just erase that too. My wife doesn't know half the stuff that I do, which sounds really sketchy.
Tee hee hee.
Hee hee hee. But that's because my art's not for her. My art's not for our viewers. My art's not for anybody really, except for me. You know, I'm on this journey to improve myself, and that doesn't necessarily need to mean that you need to delete your stuff, but like definitely put it in a folder that no one's gonna click or open, like password protected or something, or like hide it in your homework folder, you know, and that way you never have to worry about, you know, people prying into your sketchbook, because it should be a private thing. And honestly, I really like the journal analogy more and more the more I think about it, because like no one's supposed to read your journal, like it's a private thing.
Yeah, and if like you go to school or you take your like sketchbook into like a public place where like your friends will be like, let me peer into your art right now, I suggest maybe having two separate sketchbooks. Like for example, like at school, people would have like school sketchbooks and then like personal ones where they'd put all the dicks in so the teachers couldn't see, even though there was dicks in art school. Man, you gotta do a lot of life drawing.
B, I know you went to art school, right?
It's true.
Mint, you have a degree in art?
Yes, but not art. I studied graphic design. It's you're not gonna learn figure drawing and the anatomy. You're gonna learn how to use Illustrator and user experience, and well, we did learn about the Gestalt and color perception and such, but that was more for like branding and those kind of things.
So there's a lot of overlap, though.
Well, yeah, because, you know, you're still drawing something when it comes to like graphic and visual design. You're still making art. You're still using pen and paper and then digital tools to create a design.
And I know you said earlier that like nobody really teaches you how to use a sketchbook or anything. Is that true for both aspects? So we've got the graphic design school, and then we've got your classical art stuff. Do they ever like go into what sketchbooks are and like why, like how to use them and whatnot?
Probably not for sketchbooks, because they're more like just explore ideas, forehead. That's basically like what they say to you, like any piece you make. Sometimes they'll ask for like thumbnailing for sure, because like math problems, they're like, show your work. We want to see step by step how you came up with this thing and maybe changed it. Sometimes they'll give you specifics. They'll be like, hey, along with this work, we want to see 3 thumbnails, maybe like 5 color palettes you tried, doing little thumbnails for it, and then your final piece. Usually they'll give you specifics, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like, that would not help me out at all. Like from the moment someone says you have to try 5 color palettes, then it's just like, well...
If it makes you feel better, I did that after my final work was done. I did it backwards.
That's what I would do, yeah. Like, either I would just, like, throw colors at it, like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm just gonna take this blue and this pink and then whatever.
Which, in retrospect, bad idea, but also good in college. Because it does help you explore things, and sometimes you might find something you never knew was there, especially with like color palettes and stuff. Something might harmonize a little better with your vision. But man, I just couldn't at the time. I was sad little boy, and I wasn't dealing with it well. They're lucky they got finals after me.
It is a good, like, advice of, like, yeah, make your thumbnails and try different colors, but if it's going to be a task and they're going to put a number on it of, like, this is the amount you have to do, I think that's counterproductive.
Yeah, like, if they were just like, we
kind of-
just want to see your progress work, period. Yeah, I'd agree.
So it's almost counterproductive. It's like restricting in that sense.
It's both, yet I think just like sketchbooks and what they mean to you are, it is a preference. It is personal. Because some people like knowing exactly how much they need to do, especially when you're more grade focused than art focused. Because sometimes like more or less work means a higher or lower grade. Because they want to see like the effort you put into it as well as the final piece. The only time we'd really have, like, talk around is in, like, the actual, like, acrylic painting class that I did. And it's, like, your typical art school thing where they're just like, alright, critique time, what did they do good and what did they do bad? Also talk about your piece a little. And I'd be like, I used green, because I like green.
That's not a creative color.
It's not! And then they threw a bucket of paint all over my work, and
wow.
they hit the gritty on me. But
As
Wait,
you
did
do.
they actually throw a
No.
bucket of- Okay. No, but that's like one of the things that like really pisses me off, because even though in college I did take some of like there was like a fine arts side of my degree, but like it was media and arts. I took interactive media, and then there was fine arts, and I was able to take some of the fine art classes. And I don't know where I was going with this.
Throwing paint on stuff.
What I just can't.
the critique.
No, I think it's just in general of that. There's always like a teacher who has to touch.
Yeah, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, literally, they're just like, this is the way you should do it.
That's why I was like the throwing the paint on your work. Like this would like do like change your vision or whatever. I would just no, do not touch my. Simply do not.
Oh, you mean like actually painting on?
I found that a lot more, like, in high school, not specifically with my teacher, because we had 2 art teachers in the building, but that the other one would really, they'll specifically be like, oh, you should do this, and I'm gonna show you how to do this by doing it on your actual work, so, like, there's no going back, basically. Like, at least the art teacher I had in high school, bless her heart, would do it on, like, another piece of paper and be like, hey, have you ever considered it doing this way? And if you didn't like it, she would just leave it at that. She wouldn't, like, mark you any less or any higher for it. She'd just be like, oh, like, consider this way. And if you don't, that's cool, too. Because what in high school, it's based on what the assignment is. If they ask you to show value and you didn't have high value on your work, you'd fail. It wouldn't matter what your work would be about if you were displaying that principle or not.
And for people who might not know, you're talking about value as in like shading and stuff, right?
Yeah, basically the lights and darks. Think about like when you take a black and white photograph and like the lighter things are more towards you, more towards the light, and everything in the back fades into black and shadows. And you get that, like, a real depth. You'd probably see it more on, like, for example, a stage. Think about, like, a spotlight hitting the stage and how everything fades into the back of your mind and you're focused on the spotlight because it's so bright and so present and so, I guess, clear, for lack of a better word. I also want to touch on sort of bringing that magic back with sketches. So for me, I do love sketching, but I feel like I wasn't incentivized to do it so often, but I found like a rainbow pencil and now sketching is fun for me again. So I'd recommend if you ever feel like in a slump, try something new or maybe try something that isn't a professional quote-unquote art supply. Something that's fun to you, like use like a pink colored pencil.
I feel like it's also like kind of the same when it comes to like digital art. You know how when you see someone's work, there's always going to be like someone who asks, what brushes are you using? And then there's going to be the people who are like, well, actually, the brushes don't really matter. It's all about the skill. And while that is true, I think that it's also bullshit at the same time. Because have you ever downloaded a brush and it just feels so good? Like, it just feels so good to draw with?
I fucking hate that so much. Sorry for my French. I know exactly the people, and I've done a huge rant about this, and we'll get into this in another topic, or in another episode, I think. But every brush has a purpose, right? You can absolutely do a scene with stars and take your tiny little hard round and speckle every dot, or you can just like get a toothbrush with some like white paint and then just flick the bristles and it'll like scatter a star print for you. Like that, like, ugh, no.
I think it's just the same with with any medium. Even if you're writing, you have your favorite pen that you write with. Just because it feels so smooth and all of a sudden, like, you feel like your handwriting is so much better. Even though it is not a magical tool, it kind of is. It kind of feels like it because it just feels so good. So yeah, finding like that tool or that brush or that pen can really help you like at least feel more motivated to draw or just feel smoother to draw.
So what about you, Mint? We've got B's rainbow brush. What's your magic brush?
On Clip Studio Paint, there is it's called Flashito brush. And I think the person on Twitter, I think her Twitter handle is also Flashito. She made it. And yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like painterly, but like in a digital way. It's thick, it's smooth. I really enjoy the brush for specific kinds of work, but now I also, back in the day, when I was like kind of like trying to find my own style, and there was like another artist called Feverworm back in the day. I think she changed her name. They just used a square brush. And I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of want to use that square brush again, because I also then used a square brush back in the day, and now I was using it again, and it was just like so much easier to make sketches with. And it's just a simple square, nothing special.
I think at the time Tap and I met, he asked what kind of brushes I was using, and I was solely using just a hard round brush at the time. And he was just like, Jesus Christ. Why?
Why?
Yeah. But now I got the Tap pack.
The Tap pack, yeah. Oh, I wasn't even trying to... So that was a time when I was actually exploring brush engines and trying to figure out how to make them. I went on this... Because, like, I'm self-taught, and I've jumped around the internet and seen everybody make these arguments of like, oh, it doesn't matter what you use, you should be able to do everything from the hard round, and like, whatever. Yeah, I guess technically, but I was just playing around with like trying to make different brushes, and when I heard B was just like limiting herself to doing the hard round, I was like, why would you do that to yourself? And I think it came off as like, ugh. You filthy hard round user. Yeah, you filthy peasant. I was just like, no, it's just like there's so many ways to adjust this stuff so that you can like fine tune every little bit to where like you can get this brush that feels right for you, instead of like if you're ever doing digital art and like Mint said, like that like magic brush that just feels right, you know? And that's the thing, is like play around with those brushes, because God, every little tweak, every little setting will change something about it. And when you find that perfect like setup, sometimes you're just like, I love using this for sketching. I love just like playing around with it, you know?
Now, Tap, can you pick a favorite child brush of yours?
A favorite child brush? Like one that I made, or...
Is it one of you that you made that is your favorite, or do you have a favorite from someone else? What is your all-time?
I actually have a favorite from someone else. I know, scandalous.
Wow.
It's Trent Kaniuga, who is a artist for like World of Warcraft and Diablo and all that sort of stuff. But they have a brush pack that they were selling, and I was like, you know what, I'll check out some of this stuff, because he talks about like the cheats and stuff they used to use for World of Warcraft and doing that art, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. And I found one that's not even his in the pack. That's this loose strand kind of like Tsukiyomi brush, you know? the way it places down ink. I used it earlier in my stream when I was doing the Godzilla, and just the way that it puts down ink, it feels like you're actually using a real brush, and it just kind of, it doesn't behave itself, which I like. Like, you get a lot of these weird accidents happening, and then you're just forced to live with them. You know what I mean? And that, it helps eliminate the idea of trying to control anything in the piece, and it eliminates that stiffness and makes me commit to stuff. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna paint, and what happens happens, you know?
Let's get into the bastardization of sketching and why the Instagram 15 is a shitty lie. Tap, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I'm excited.
Tap rant, woohoo!
Are we really gonna, you guys want to listen to me rant for fucking ages?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, this concept started when I was just really early on, and have you ever seen speed paint and stuff like that, where it's this, like, 30-hour painting that is punched down into like a 15-minute video? That's fine and well. They're great for watching, and they're really interesting, and they look good, but somehow it like tricks this part of your brain into thinking that you need to work really fast. That's something that has been permeating, and it's not entirely the speed paint fault, right? I'm not saying speed paints are bad. They're good. Unless, right? A lot of people don't internalize, like, hey, this takes 30 hours. It's hard to conceptualize time that way, you know, and think like, wow, this took like days to paint. Whereas people will go in on like Instagram and Twitter and any social media, and they use a sketch as almost a shield, right? As this idea of, I'm immune from criticism and you cannot judge anything I do because I have stated it's just a sketch, therefore you can't find flaws with it or you're the asshole, right? Which is not true. It's not anything you put up. And that's a whole other topic when we get into critique and like consent of critique and that kind of deal. A lot of people will lie about how long a piece took them, right? They will work out a sketch and then they'll do their secondary sketch where they make it look a lot better. And you can tell a lot of the times too, especially on like traditional media, pencil and paper, where you can see their construction lines where they've erased meticulously. And you can see people who are like, this took me 15 minutes. Look at my 15-minute sketch. I set a timer and I did this. But you're not seeing a million of those smash cuts that they're doing where they're like eliminating out how much time they're actually spending on this sketch and going, hey, this is as long as it took me. It just took me 15 minutes. Even though it might have taken them like 5 hours. And then new artists will see that and think, I need to be able to draw fast, when there is no reason other than like an industry thing. If you're working professionally and somebody says, I need you to have these pieces out to me in like 30 minutes, right? Firstly, crunches are bad, and we've learned that from Sonic. Secondly, there's no precedence to having to work fast. You can work as slowly and meticulously as you want. There's no reason that your sketch only needs to take like 10 minutes or 20 minutes or anything even like that. Anything even remotely close. And you see it with people who stream and people who post art, is that they go like, wow, this is as fast as I can do this in 10 minutes or whatever. Like, I'm a bad artist. That's not true. Some people just have a different workflow. I've even seen it when I've posted a piece and I went, I timed myself, this is what I could produce in an hour, and I told myself I had to stop at an hour, right? And that's fine. If you set time limits for yourself, then you can work however fast you want. But when I've shown that to people, they go, wow, you made that in an hour? I could never do that in like 10 hours. And I'm like, well, yes, but I went into it like thinking about it and being like, this is the piece that I want to make, and I'm just going to explore, and we're going to see. And it's not a point of like, this is how fast I worked. It's I've worked on these skills and I want to progress them and see how far I can get on my own time. It's fine if it takes you this like 10 hours to make the same piece. We're not the same artist. I'm not better than you. I'm not worse than you. It's just, I have a different workflow. And so if you're that person, if you're that person posting on social media and you're going like, this is only a sketch, I did this in 15 minutes, and you didn't, and you're just posting it as a sketch because you're afraid that somebody's going to critique you, stop. Because you're hurting a lot of people, right? You're hurting the new entry to art. Also, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of that you need that sketch to be your shield, right? is that it, yeah, maybe somebody might critique you when you didn't want the critique, but then they're just the asshole. Like, they're the actual asshole. If you're trying to hide behind the fact that it's a sketch, that doesn't mean anything. There's a famous saying, and I forget who it is, but they say that true art should be done at any point. Like, at any point you should be able to stop and go, this is my art. And that's not to say that every piece needs to be a banger. What it is saying is that, like, if you are going to put out something that you think is immaculate and you want to share with the world, it better be good the whole way through, right? Like, you can't just say, I'm stopping at a sketch, I'm cranking out a whip, and this is all you're gonna see. And I've been guilty of that. I've posted whips because I'm like, what I'm showing you is a beginning with infinite potential. Whereas if I finish something, then it's final. It's in stone. And then you see my limitations. And just don't do that to yourself. Just don't make sketches, and don't make anything like that a shield to hide behind, or a lie that you need to send out into the world and use as a face.
I think the lying about how long it takes you is more of trying to be impressive factor, rather than like, I'm scared I'm not keeping up with other artists. Everybody just be lying. I get that. That's just what social media is.
Talking about the speed of drawing is also kind of like an industry issue of when you have a job, you're working by the hour. And most of the time you are supposed to calculate your hours so that you can get paid the amount of money that is equal to the amount of hours you have worked. But I feel like when it comes to art, or like I have done experience with graphics, it doesn't work like that. You cannot work by the hour, because some people are just slower, some people are faster with one thing and then slower with something else, and you can't put the art hourly. It doesn't work like that, because then one person who takes an hour for sketching could then technically be paid more than someone who can pump out an entire rendered piece in just an hour. That it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work like that. Everyone is different with their speed, and I think that's like an industry issue of we have to like focus on working fast.
Oh, absolutely. And it definitely, I think what I'm getting at is that it's like leaking into the rest of the world too. But you're right. You're right. It's an industry thing that like it's people at the top being like, this is what you got to do. This is that, and it's a flawed way of trying to calculate the value of art.
Like a little personal story, like in college I had to do a lot of projects, and with our projects we have to then count the time and everything that we have been working on. It was then the same project sheet for the other study paths that can do hourly, like a nursing student who just has to like go to a hospital to do some training. Which, I mean, it's a lot of work. I'm not saying that it's like, ugh, whatever. But that's easier that they can be like, I have been clocking in at 8 in the morning and I'm leaving at 4 in the evening. These are my hours. While when it comes to like graphic designers or artists, you just, you have to do then the research, which might take like a while depending on the project. But then the graphic work might actually take 5 minutes. So then it's like, oh, I have to have 30 hours to get all the credits for this project. Otherwise, I can't graduate. But yet, I can't reach the certain amount of hours because this project wasn't that big, or I'm just really fast in working with that project. It doesn't work when it comes to any creative industry, I feel.
Oh shit! Do you guys hear that?
Oh no!
You hear that knocking?
Oh no!
I think the paper boy's here. Hold on, let me check.
Oh, I thought it was my tinnitus.
We don't want any.
Oh, hey, Ronaldo, how's it going? Oh, you brought me the paper?
Tell him to go away.
Ronaldo!
Oh, thank you so much.
Tip your paper boy.
I've got a hot, fresh, exclusive paint scoop for you.
I'm always bad at these.
Alright, so just a little reminder how the game room works. One title is serious, the other is funny. They have to depict which is what, and Mint is up 1, and Tap is at 0.
L.
Yep.
Alright, the first title, Cosmetic Internet Surgery for Artists. Second one, Taking Today's Advice Too Literally.
Oh, Mint, I'll let you choose first.
Oh, that's a hard one. I have a feeling that the first one is... Wait, the second one was taking things too seriously.
Taking today's advice too seriously.
Huh. I'm gonna say that the second one is the serious one and the first one is the funny one. Actually, no, it's the other way around.
I am going to say that the cosmetic surgery one is the silly one, and the advice too literally is the serious one.
And I say the opposite.
And today, Tap yet again at the bottom.
Damn it! Oh, okay.
It was a hard one.
Cosmetics internet surgery? Like what?
Yeah, I took the quote cosmetic internet surgery straight from the article because it was way
Oh my
funnier than
God.
anything I had as a title. All I
Oh
did
my
was add
God.
for artists. So let's get our hands in on the serious one here. So real title for cosmetic internet surgery for artists is from, once again, artnet.com. The real title is Why Art Influencer Gia Fee is Leaving the Museum World to Found the First Digital Media Agency for Artists. This was an article in 2020. The underquote says, after more than a decade of working in museums as a problem solver, it was time to go out and find new problems to solve.
I was gonna make them my own.
I'm gonna cause problems. So in this article, it basically explains a little bit about... Is it Gia? It's spelled J-I-A-J-I-A. Just know that I'm terrible with names, audience. So it says, early this month, GFA, the bold-cutted social media mavern behind the Jewish Museum's various channels, announced that she was leaving her role at the institution to launch her own digital media agency. I accepted my role at the Jewish Museum knowing that my next step would be to start my own company. Basically, she's running a digital agency for artists, with like the reason being kind of like related to like how artists get their work in museums, where they have like agents reaching out and booking shows, kind of like music artists as well, where you have somebody reaching out on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Like a station specifically for art. Like an art station.
Sacre bleu. Here's where I ripped the quote from for the title. Through her agency, which brands itself as the first of its kind in the art world, Faye will work with museums, galleries, and artists to broaden their audience through tech. She calls it cosmetic internet surgery. She has no short of potential clients in need of nips and tucks. For a visually driven industry run by creatives, the art world is notoriously slow in its adoption of digital trends. Even buying art online has been slow to catch on, has it?
Yeah, like, what?
I mean, maybe, but I feel like Etsy's fucking booming.
Yeah.
I don't know, have you guys heard of NFTs?
Oh, you're right. Actually, this would have been right before the NFT, wouldn't it? Because this is 2020.
Did she invent
Oh
NFTs?
my god, did she?
Could you imagine?
The scandal. This smacks of like a tech bro being like reinventing something that already exists, you know?
I get where she's coming from, like helping artists reach out to people, because a lot of artists are very, very introverted. They don't know where to start. I get that for sure. And I'm trying to find the specific heckin' quote. A decade ago, the question was, should we be on social media? And now it's, should we start a video or podcast series?
Wow, they got our fucking number.
Also, not me thinking when you were like saying like, oh, a decade ago, and I'm like, but there was no social media in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, God. Oh, my bones, they've become dust. Mint, why would you do this?
My milk is drying up.
Was AOL not from the 90s?
Late 90s.
I mean, I wouldn't
Maybe.
call that social media, per se. Not the way that we view it
No.
today.
Yeah, it was the baby version.
That was basically one step, like, maybe above texting.
Yeah. So basically, she's just helping artists connect with galleries and further their career. Basically, what an agent is to, like, a musician, which I think is cool, especially for artists who both don't know how and also do not want to do that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I understand it's very, very hard, like, both making art doing your stuff, but also having to do that on top, because art in like, and this is in like the entire art genre, from music to art industries to fucking all over the world. You have to market yourself if nobody's gonna market for you. Like, you have to do it all. Like any other job, you could be placed and you're just a cog in the wheel. But artists, you're basically doing your own business. And I mean, you can hire people and do stuff, but starting out, it's all you, baby. Now, our funny, silly article from Taking Today's Advice Too Literally. Real title from artnet.com once again. The title is An Italian Artist Auction Off on, quote, invisible sculpture for $18,300. And it's literally made of nothing. It is a work that asks you to activate the power of imagination. Salvador Gurl. Still terrible with names, I'm so sorry.
Guerrero?
Yeah, I think so. So basically, man's made a sculpture of nothing and sold it for the equivalent of 15k euros, which I believe the dollar amount is a USD.
That's gotta be some sort of money laundering thing. Who in their right mind is spending money on nothing?
So this was back in 2021, so still in the global pandemic. In this article, it basically explains that the artist sold an immaterial sculpture, which to say it doesn't exist. To be fair, the artist might disagree on conceptual grounds. For him, the artwork titled Lo Solno, which translates to I am, finds form in its own nothingness. The vacuum is nothing more than a space full of energy, and even if we empty it and there's nothing left, according to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, that nothing has a weight. Therefore, it has energy that is condensed and transformed into particles that is onto us. These remind me of like when people are trying to sell you snake oil and they just use a bunch of buzzwords.
Yeah.
It also reminds me of someone had to do a task for school, didn't do it, and just bullshitted his way through the fact like, no, this is an invisible thing, I swear.
He rolled a nat 20 on charisma.
Yeah, you're right.
But like, get your coin, sir. I mean, if people are willing to pay for it, go for it. But this went up for sale in May at an Italian auction house. The pre-sale estimate valued the piece between, and this is in euros, 60 to 90k. But bidders are the ones that push the price tab to 50k in euros. But I think my favorite part is the set of instructions on how you have to display this piece.
What? No, bro.
So the lucky buyer went home with a certificate of authenticity and a set of instructions. The work, per artist request, must be exhibited in a private house in a roughly 5 by 5 foot space, free of obstruction.
I mean, but that's an art piece on its own. The fucking instructions, and then the fact that someone actually then bought it and might actually, in their home, have, what was it, 5 by 5 foot?
Yeah.
Maybe this guy is onto something.
Give me $15,000 to tell you to clean a 5 foot by 5 foot area of your house.
Do you think he is looking for a sugar baby?
He might be. He is 67.
Ooh, right up my alley.
This 100% is some money laundering shit. It has to be.
He also goes to talk about like why he decided to exhibit and like creating it a little bit, which will all be linked in the descriptions. And he kind of like draws a comparison to God, where he just says, after all, we don't shape a God we've never seen.
I don't know about that. A lot of people do.
Oh, apparently Losalno is not the only artwork of its kind in this artist's collection.
No, this man got away with it more than once.
In February of this year, which would have been 2021, at the Plaza del Scala in Milan, the artist exhibited Buddha in Contemplation, a similarly invisible sculpture demarcated by a square of tape on a cobblestone walkway. The man went out into the street and put some tape on the ground and said, "Done."
Wow.
He's onto something.
Yeah, fuck me, dude.
He did it for a third time, fellas.
Nope, I'm done.
He installed Aphrodite Gurl in front of the New York City Stock Exchange, which looks like an empty white circle. I love that for him. It's a work that asks you to activate the power of imagination, a point.
Use your mind brain.
What if you
A
have...
power that everyone has.
But what if someone has aphantasia?
Oh, wow.
We gotta
yeah,
get Tip's
actually.
opinion on this.
So, like, it's not accessible to everyone.
Wow.
Tip could maybe sue.
Many people on the internet seem to be having trouble tapping into that power. Many people on the internet seem to be having trouble tapping into that power. So you really just taped a square and called it a sculpture? Reads the most liked comment on the video page.
I mean, art can be anything, but, like, I just can't. So I'm done being an artist. It was a good run.
Oh, here, let me send you a picture
No,
of
please.
Losono.
The only thing keeping me from being infuriated is the fact that I don't see this.
Close your eyes.
No, it's there! Actually, I have it. It's in my house right now.
Yeah, could you imagine we just clear a 5x5 square in any space and just be like, yeah, it's there.
I kind of want to message him and show him a picture of a 5x5 space and say, I've sculpted this after your sculpture. You should be honored.
It's a perfect replica, and
It's a perfect replica.
Could you imagine just being like, oh yeah, I have the piece. Oh yeah? Where's your
I stole it.
Where's your certificate of authenticity? I stole it, I don't have it. Oh, completely worthless. It's not there. You're a liar.
Could you just print out a similar certificate?
I wonder if there's a picture of it online.
Was it actually like taken to a notary or something, or is it just like on a napkin and crayon?
it's just like a receipt.
This is real.
Like,
Yeah.
that eventually will like fade away.
This man's a genius. I wouldn't necessarily say at art, but I would say just like, God, that is one con man. That is a hell of a con man.
A good news.
Oh my god, there is. Just a picture of the...
Even better. Somebody fucking scanned it in.
Oh my God, we could all have it in our homes. The real thing.
We'll buy it and write it off as a creative tax expense.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God. Guys, we all could be owners of this masterpiece.
Oh, but like for real, dude, if you can do it and get your bank, fucking get it.
True, but like, God, that's that. See, the issue I'm having is because I'm thinking like, oh yeah, this guy, get your bank. But what I'm thinking is the thing that happens in fine art, which is like somebody gets a piece, like they buy a piece for like 3,000 and then they have it appraised at like 20,000 and then they donate it and write it off.
Yeah.
And so you know that some motherfucker who doesn't need the money is using it for like tax, dodging and
I mean, if the price got up that high, I mean, it started at like 5K. Alright, Mint, let me cut out the birthday section and send it over. Hold on. I'm printing it, I'm sending it in the mail, I'm licking the stamp, and I slid it in.
Oh my god, you have faxed it and it goes like... I have never used a fax in my entire life.
Me neither, I just heard the funny noise.
I don't know how it works. Anyway, we want to wish a happy birthday to Federico Brandt, or however you pronounce his name. I'm very sorry. He was a Venezuelan painter, and that's all the Wikipedia has to say about him. It's very hard to find information about him. The Wikipedia page has it in Spanish and it has a lot of information. I could Google translate it, but I don't want to give misinformation. And then I found another website about him. He apparently is not only a painter, but he also experimented with furniture building and what else? Hold on. Maybe I do have to Google translate it because I don't remember what it was.
So what I'm hearing is that this painter is region locked?
He is region locked apparently. So the only information I could find was in Spanish, and unfortunately I do not speak Spanish. And there was one singular website that was in English. The reason why I chose him was because I saw a painting of him And I just thought it was like nice. I just thought it was like it looked very, very colorful, and I don't know, I really vibe with like the little dolls. But he has experimented with wood carving, furniture design, and doing political cartoons. His style, as I would say, is kind of like, it kind of looks like Van Gogh a little bit, right? Like that specific painting. So it has like post-impressionism, maybe a little bit of impressionism style to it when you also look at some of his other work. But he has also dabbled into expressionism. He passed away in the same city, which he was born in, Caracas, on May 17th, 1878, and he died in the same city, July 25th, 1932, at the age of 54. But if he were still alive today, he would be 145. So happy birthday, Federico.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I would love to know to learn more about him. I think his work is quite nice. It's, you know, I haven't heard of this artist. The drawing with the dolls, well, the painting with the dolls stood out to me. That's why I picked him for the birthday.
Oh, I love the flower one. I know that's a basic bitch thing to say, but like that looks nice.
It looks nice. He also has like one with a tower. I like it. It looks very cozy. It brings me back to like a sunny summer, but it's like in the morning, so it's a little bit like fresh feeling, like there might be like still some dew on the grass and such.
Yeah, I could see that. Oh my god, holy cow. Okay, hold on. I just found one called Green Soul by him. That's even, it's like this abstract, like, look at that. What is this dude is all over. Holy cow.
A multi-talented man.
That's awesome.
Let's get into our last topic here about social media.
Ugh.
And talking a little bit about that. So let's talk a little bit about when to post.
Teach me how to social media, YouTube, please.
I just wanted to say that I'm also not really using my Instagram anymore. I have it, but I don't.
I think a lot of the social media sites, especially Twitter and Instagram, are very hard to start on. Especially their algorithms change so gosh darn much. And there's a lot of factors to posting on there that you have to follow. Like, most people have to follow trends to survive. And that's usually when people see upticks in their viewership, is when you post about something that's like relevant. Like, for example, Tears of the Kingdom's coming up, boys. So I'm gonna post
rehydrated
with his nipple out.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's like a lot of factors that goes into it. So when to post is kind of a tricky thing, especially time zones really fuck a lot of people over. When I was looking up times when we should release the podcast, it told me 5 a.m.
Oh, I guess for people who have like commutes or something.
Yeah, I get the idea. You're thinking about when your audience is free and when they'd be excited to like when a new episode's release. For example, like some people post on YouTube like their videos at noon, so the kids on lunch see them and go, "Oh boy, can't wait to watch that when I get home. Matt Pack's talking about Luigi's dick again." And some people will start like streaming later in the night when most people are off. So you kind of do have to kind of think of your audience in mind, but also in turn, thinking about too much social media might turn you off for that, especially when you're an artist. You are fighting not shit post content, but also shit post content, in the sense where people that aren't artists can just crank shit out. That they can just post more than like 3 posts a day, which is like what the algorithm in most social media platforms want, especially Instagram. So you really gotta get up in there and utilize your hashtags. A good way to do it is have a mix between the popular ones and less popular tags. Because if you go on the popular ones, you're lost in the sea. Very hard to find you. Less popular, you're gonna get noticed more.
This why like TikTok and stuff has those things where like they have hashtags that have nothing to do with the video?
Yes.
What's the etiquette on that?
Sometimes they are like promotional dealies, because I've seen a brand that was like, make any kind of TikTok and use this hashtag. Thank you. We want the free promotion. I can't remember if they were offering anything in return, but people were using the hashtag because that's what people were like looking under because other people were using it. I'd say for stuff like, for example, if you were trying to tag something for the TV show Amphibia, you would tag similar stuff like frogs, frog characters, toads, stuff like that. And like the brands, obviously, like you could put like Disney art and stuff like in there. But usually those are like bigger hashtag. It all kind of depends. And yeah, some people will just throw something in there like Kool-Aid on their Amphibia post for some reason. But like it is so hard to tell, like to curate your media anymore, especially on Twitter and like all the stuff Musk is really getting his fingers on. Because right now, basically, if you're not Twitter blue, you might as well get off the platform.
We need some sort of station. Art. Like an art station.
Or we go back to the classics, DeviantArt.
Newgrounds is alive again.
God, I remember when that was like in 2016, so not too long ago, but almost a decade ago.
Oh no.
That
My bones.
the DeviantArt rebranded and it started to suck. So then people were like, okay, here's a new platform called, and I think it was called Wisp or something. But the only platform that I'm using is, well, not really Instagram, maybe a little bit, but now it's only Twitter and Reddit for one specific porn art.
I think ours is mainly Discord. It's a social media.
Yeah,
But I feel like then you already have to have a community established.
I think that's kind of the issue that's currently plaguing the art community in general, right? Because when Tumblr did like its purge, they started to make Pillow Fort, which was like a thing, but that didn't really take off too well. And then like, yeah, Newgrounds is a thing, and like Pixiv and like DeviantArt and all sorts of stuff like that. But like, I feel like we're so scattered as a community. It's impossible to know where your artists are, because Twitter was that one unifying thing.
Yeah.
Like everybody had their own things, but they also had a Twitter. And now that that's kind of down the shitter, like everybody's just scattered to the winds. We need another concise, like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
because a lot of artists had to like resort to Twitter View just to simply survive. Like that's literally what they have to do to survive, is pay Mr. Musk, what, $9?
But then also the problem that I hear from then a lot of then the artists is that like we also need a platform to reach out to our clients or to possible clients, which Twitter is for everyone, but a regular person is not gonna go to DeviantArt to maybe commission someone, or is not likely to go to DeviantArt to commission someone. It's most of the time it's artists supporting other artists.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've also found with Instagram lately, because I added a hashtag, I think it was to one of my comic promotion posts, where these Twitter bots were just coming out of the blue asking me for commissions. And we'll talk about like scams and how to commission people, or how to accept commissions, and technically to commission people if you're like a non-artist just listening because you like art, about that in a future episode. But what they're trying to do is more so now using PayPal to try and charge back you. Originally it was like sending checks, blank checks or something or other. I was looking it up because I got this person and they were just like, can you draw my little boy and dog? Let me pull it up actually. But definitely, if you think you smell a scam, look into it, because a lot of other artists will post about it and being like, hey, have you seen like this? Because they'll usually use the same like wording.
Is the website Artist Alley already taken? Can we just make that like a commission street?
It's probably taken. I feel like it. It's like such a common name. Like such a, like specifically for like cons, I wouldn't be surprised if
It is taken, but it's not used.
Damn it.
Artistalley.com, and then it's in development.
Okay, so they started off, hello, are you available for commissions? I'd like you to draw a picture of my son's pet for him. And I was like, Oh, hello, yes, I'm open for commission. What kind of style of finish you're looking for? Could do anything from cartoony sketch to semi-realistic. I am Linda Bills from US, California, and you?
Oh, okay.
Huh.
And their Instagram name is a completely different last name. And I was like, I'm an artist from Canada. Do you know what type of style you're looking for? I just needed to accurately price out the commission for you. I want you to draw 2 pictures of his pets, which have his name written, LOL. Willing to pay you $300 if that isn't stiff. And I went, big money if real. Well, I didn't actually say that. I just thought it in my head.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, like, that's fine, but I only accept payment through PayPal and Coffee. I do take half the payment up front. And then she sends me a picture of a dog, which I've Google reversed imaged these both, and I couldn't find them. But it was like this little dog on this blue towel, and the next one is a litter of puppies. Like, literally these little puppies just getting some milk fresh off their mama's teat. No picture of son. And I said, are you okay with the terms listed above? Please, can you do it very nice? And I said, is that a yes? I just need to know to proceed. Well, what's your payment method so I can make a payment down now so you can be serious with my son, pet, because I want the drawing, handwriting emoji, to look so beautiful and good. Heart, smiley face emoji, question mark, because I didn't respond within 30 seconds. I just have PayPal, and then I left it at that. And there were just, like, others, like, I don't know what it is. It must be a certain hashtag that I started using on only, like, my comic promotion. Speaking of scams, do promoted posts work?
Do they?
And is it worth the money? So, in my opinion, I did try it out. I think I only spent $5 to $10. It wasn't a crazy amount. It was on Instagram. It was for... I actually probably could find the analytics if they still have it. Sometimes they do, which is a little nice. Also, God knows, could be inflated. I don't think it's going to show it to me here. It was... I think I did 2. I think I did a fandom one, and then I did my birthday piece for my cat. And the fandom one did a little bit better than the normal, like, original work. Because fandoms and getting into fandoms is a very good way to get your foot in the door. Because a lot of the times, people are not looking up original work, which sucks.
You gotta be careful with that, though. That can become a pitfall where you're just chasing, that trend of... You do, like, a Pokemon piece or something like that, and then you get a ton of views and whatnot. But then the second you stop doing Pokemon pieces, nobody wants to check you out anymore.
Yeah, that's basically what happens. Honestly, if the post is like promotional anyway, and you can feel like it can act as a great ad, like for example, promoting a comic, or like short little comic that you did, I believe it could be beneficial. I would try it out if you wanted to. I would say stay small. Don't spend more than $15. With Instagram, if they still do it, it gave me like a slider of how many people it would reach. Keep in mind, how many people it would reach is not a guarantee that they will like your post. It's just how many people they're gonna show it to. And there's a high possibility that they're just gonna scroll by.
I'm not gonna lie, I personally, anytime I see something that's promoted, I will like scroll faster and just completely ignore it.
Kind of reminds me of how sometimes on TikTok I get like a promoted video, but it's literally just like an adult man using like a filter. Like it's just a picture of an adult man, and it's just like doing like some shakies and moving the picture around, and that's the promoted video. And I'm like, bestie, you did not spend money on this.
Usually with the promoted posts, I'm not exactly sure how they work on TikTok, but a lot of like, I've noticed that they'll just use creators to like promote like filters or like something in any way, and they tell them just be like, oh, as long as you're in our video, it's worth the money. Yeah, definitely like look into algorithms of like the website you're trying to get noticed on. Because a lot of times you can just play the algorithms in your favor if you're an algorithms kind of person.
Just do what you're doing, and like I feel like in a way, if you want to be successful with it, research it, but on the other hand, don't put too much thought in it, because I feel like it also might discourage you into doing your art.
And also don't use it as like a way to basically like ignore improving yourself as an artist. Like chase the improvement, not necessarily the views and clicks and stuff, but like you know, if you're balancing doing, you know, like improving yourself and also trying to get yourself seen, like maybe err more on the side of improving yourself.
We're also going to talk about, just to wrap everything in a nice little bow, some artists that we follow on social media / just follow in general for Tap.
So I'm a really big fan of Kim Jong-gi. I followed them. Rest in peace. They unfortunately passed away recently, but they are an artist who was regarded as a modern master, and they have like the biggest visual library ever. And we've talked about visual libraries, and we'll talk about it again. But just the ability to hard code that much information in your head, like that's who I ascribe to be. You know, like I wish to be like Kim Jong-gi in that sense. The other one I would have to say is Marcos Mateo Mestre, who is the author of Framed Ink, if you've ever checked that out. But the way that they do composition, they do a lot of stuff with the idea of using only 4 colors, right? For your like your thumbnailing and everything like that. They're mostly in like black and white, and they talk mostly about composition, and God, they go into the idea of using art as a way to tell a story for every piece, no matter what kind of painting it is, and it's such a good insight. I'm trying to narrow it down. I do have, okay, Cynics. This is one that people might be aware of. Cynics Designs is on YouTube, they're on Twitch, they're all over the place, but they go into a lot of instructional tutorials about like the idea of drawing like a painter and painting like a sculptor, and the idea of trying to think about stuff in other mediums, of not necessarily drawing the lines that you're seeing, but drawing, you know, the lines that help you place your paint. So you draw like a painter, and then you paint like a sculptor, where you're thinking about how it would work if you were like modeling something in clay, you know, thinking about these things in 3D forms. And those 3 artists themselves, I think, have formed the core foundation of who I am as an artist, and what, you know, drives me to better myself every day, and try to match that ability to be able to hard code stuff into my mind and know that I can just bust something out, you know, without even having to think too hard about it, but also make it tell a story, and also make it, you know, believable.
Minta.
Not necessarily artists that I follow on social media, but the person I do follow on social media is Partius. I have been, as said in our previous episode, I have been heavily yoinking some of her painterly style. She does digital art, but she does it in like a painterly style, and she uses a lot of inspiration from kind of like medieval fairy tale kind of imagery, and I really liked her style, and I have been yoinking a lot of it and trying to take some of hers to my own. And then another person that I have recently discovered for myself by going to a museum is Christian Crockfors. He is a painter, and he kind of makes like these interesting like flat paintings. Like they are, you can't see like the brush strokes, and he has really like inspired me to get back into creating like assets for my streaming, even though it isn't directly based off of him, but he kind of like sparked the desire to get back into it. And then the last person is Finlay Cohen, who has been making album sleeves for like Pink Floyd and Muse and Audioslave. And I had his book called Painting and Drawing Fantasy Worlds, and that book had been like quite a, how would I say it? Like it kind of built my personality as an artist and as a digital artist. That book has been like my inspiration of like, I want to become a digital artist. I want to do more drawing. I want to become a graphic designer. I want to do this. So he has been also quite inspirational for me. And that's it. Hee.
My 3 are BAM Animation. Found them on YouTube. They're in the animation industry. They break down a lot of animation and industry tips and tricks to help artists in animation. They're very funny, talented. Love them. Next is Blulius, Blulious, on Twitter. I found them because they make super cute Genshin kawaii art. Their style is very super recognizable, and I enjoy looking at it with my eye holes. The third is Renetta, Gremren_ on Twitter. She works in like these really pretty colored palettes. Very saturated, highly pop, but they work so nice together, basically using Poscas. And they make illustrations and also recently some rugs that are super cute. I just love the way they simplify everything and bring color into that. It's very hot and sexy. And I think that does it for us this week, boys. To kind of wrap up, recap, we talked a little bit about the Invisible Sketchbook, the bastardization of sketches, and why Instagram 15 is a shitty lie, and a bit about social media and some of the artists that inspire us. So everyone have a wonderful evening, day, night, doing whatever you're doing. If you have any little news articles, any questions, any maybe little birthdays of artists you want to share with us, hit us up at aestheticacademypodcast@gmail.com, as well as our social medias. And we'll see you there. And remember, don't eat your paints.